Hey everyone, Benji here. Today we're diving into a topic that's shaking up the global financial scene, and it's all about de-dollarization. It's a big word with even bigger implications, so let's break it down together. This all stems from a conversation I was having with my buddy the other day. We were talking about the change in the New World Order and whether or not the US could hold its own and retain that power. An interesting question came about, and that was what bad habits led up to this idea of a change in world order and ultimately de-dollarization. So for decades, the US dollar has been the king of the world's reserve currencies, and as of right now, we sit at 58% dominance, and we take part in 88% of all foreign transactions, which is absolutely crazy. So the US has been the backbone for global trade, the safe haven for central banks, and a symbol of American economic power. And the reason we're having this conversation in the first place is because times are changing. Countries around the world are starting to reduce their reliance on the dollar. But why? It all comes down to power, control, and controversy. Now let's talk about how the US flexes fintech and asserts its dominance. First is through asset confiscation. The United States has a habit of freezing or seizing foreign assets when countries step out of line. Recently, nearly $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves were frozen. That's a lot of money, people. Another thing they're doing is weaponizing the US dollar. The US uses its currency as a tool for economic and political leverage. So when we need to borrow money, it's at low cost due to our dominance. And when decisions need to be made, the US holds weight in those conversations. And this is because we're quote unquote a stable country. And I'd like to think so. Another thing we're doing is sanctions and restrictions. The US can cut countries off from the global financial system, making it hard for them to trade or access their money. They do this through imposing sanctions on countries like Russia. It's like having a financial blacklist. Speaking of sanctions, let's zoom in on Russia. Following its invasion of Ukraine, the US and its allies hit Russia with the fintech tsunami SWIFT. They froze the billions in reserves we mentioned earlier, and this has happened before, but never at this scale. They kicked Russian banks out of SWIFT, the global messaging system for financial transactions. Imagine suddenly not being able to use your WhatsApp for banking. That would cause some serious issues, especially for an entire nation. They banned high-tech exports to Russia, including semiconductors and advanced navigation equipment, blah blah, the list goes on, but it's really important stuff. Now you might be thinking, isn't this a good thing though? We're punishing the bad guys. And honestly, you're not wrong, but here's the twist. These actions are pushing countries to look for alternatives to the dollar. And so here lies de-dollarization. It's the trend of countries moving away from using the US dollar in international trade and as a reserve currency. We're seeing countries like China and Russia make deals to use their own currency instead of dollars. The BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are even talking about creating their own reserve currency. And I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. Is this all worth it? And I don't even know. I personally think cryptocurrency will replace all this excess work around the obvious, which is all control and power. Governments like control and power, so they need or want to be able to regulate whatever it is you're using. But why would countries want to de-dollarize? Why would these countries want to walk away from our stable economy? Well, imagine if your coworker had the power to freeze your bank account anytime they didn't like what you were doing. You'd probably start keeping your money somewhere else, right? Regulation is all for your security and protection, right? It kind of seems like that's not the case anymore. But there's other fintech solutions like cryptocurrency that bypass those additional costs and hurdles. Now, this growing trend could have some serious consequences, such as it could erode the trust in the US-led financial system. We might see a more fragmented global financial landscape where people start to use other avenues outside of the US dollar. US sanctions could become less effective over time, so any sort of taxes or restrictions we're placing on other countries, maybe they hold less weight. So what's Uncle Sam doing about all of this? The tax man himself. The US is trying to maintain its financial power by doing a few things, like strengthening alliances with other countries, like inviting Ukraine into NATO, even though I'm not sure if that's going to be a possibility. Another would be improving its financial infrastructure, maybe by investing in innovation like crypto-related products like we're starting to see more often today. We could discuss global concerns and financial dominance with our peers and other countries to look for solutions that could help us. We can start investing in financial innovation like exploring digital currencies. And BlackRock, for example, is buying up all of the Bitcoin supply. Not literally, but they have at least 1% of Bitcoin so far of the entire supply. It's kind of crazy to think about. One of the largest investment companies in the world is stockpiling something that we all have an opportunity to buy. That's kind of a sign that you should be doing it too. And lastly, we could just try and engage in good old-fashioned diplomacy. Make some good deals with some trustworthy nations. But here's the million-dollar question. Is maintaining this level of financial power really in everyone's best interest? Or should we be moving towards a more balanced global financial system? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As we wrap up, remember that the world of global fintech is complex and ever-changing. The trends we've discussed today, de-dollarization, the use of financial power, and the push for alternatives are shaping the future of our global economy. And after all, what happens in the world of high finance eventually trickles down to affect us all. And in the world of finance, knowledge is power, maybe even more powerful than the dollar itself. Thanks for joining me today, and if you like this video, don't forget to do the thing, hit the buttons, and subscribe for more videos on financial stuff just like this, and I'll see you soon.